Good day, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the Eritrean invasion of Tigray and the civil war taking place inside the former state of Ethiopia. So what's happening on the ground as we speak? Well, what we're hearing is that the Eritrean military, the Abiy loyalist military, after taking control of Shire, parts of the town of Shire, gaining access along the B30 highway to proceed east, they have indeed tried to move east towards Selika. At this point right now, we have received reports that Eritrean Army units have entered Selika and are continuing to battle Tigrayan defense forces within the vicinity of Selika and also to the north and south of Selika as well. Now, with that being said, we are also receiving reports that the Eritrean Army Command and the Army units that have moved into Shire have been, in fact, surrounded and cut off as we speak by the Tigrayan defense forces. We had talked about this earlier, that as the Eritrean and Abiy loyalist army continues to move deeper and deeper into the Tigray region, it's going to place itself and its logistical lines at risk from attack from the Tigrayan defense forces. And what we have going on in Shire appears to be twofold. There sounds like there is Tigrayan commandos that remained inside of Shire that are continuing to harass and attack the Eritrean military inside of Shire. We have reports as well that the Eritrean army is now going house to house in an attempt to find some of these Tigrayan commandos that have remained behind. But furthermore, and more importantly, it would appear that the main route out of Shire, both to the west and to the north, has been cut off by the Tigrayan defense forces. And as we speak, essentially, Shire has now fallen under siege by the Tigrayan defense forces. The Eritrean army, while being in Shire and then trying to push to the east towards Selika, has been cut off from its main routes back to Eritrea, kind of in this northwesterly direction. And at the same time, some of the road networks that they were using to move from Shire have also been cut off. And you have to understand that the Eritrean military has never gained control of many of these surrounding hills to the west of Shire, even around Shire, to the south of Shire, southeast of Shire. The Tigrayan defense forces continue to remain very much active and have not been entirely cleared out. And that has allowed the Tigrayan defense forces essentially right now to have cut off the Eritrean military from its main supply lines to the northwest, connecting Eritrea and its supply nodes that they are trying to set up near Shire as well. So again, Shire is surrounded. Tigrayan defense forces have apparently cut off those forces in Shire and the forces that are continuing to try to press east. Now, will this be something that the Tigrayan defense forces will be able to continue and maintain a siege on Shire? Difficult to say at this time. It's highly likely that the Eritrean military can bring in additional forces. The Abiy loyalist forces can bring in additional forces. We don't know if the Tigrayan defense forces have retaken control of the air base here. We know that they, in all probability, are trying to use this air base to resupply and reinforce its forces in Shire, meaning the Eritrean and Abiy loyalist forces. So very interesting situation developing. We've also heard that the Tigrayan Defense Force Command has ordered that the Eritrean army surrender itself in Shire. So very interesting reports coming out of that area as we speak. Additionally, if we move all the way to the southeast, along the Alamata front. We had received reports that the Abiy loyalist forces have pushed into and took control, or at least took control of the A2 highway from Alamata going through Korem, and we're preparing for a possible push north of Korem. We know now that the Tigrayan Defense Forces are still present in Korem, and fighting is still taking place west of Korem, along this route where the Abiy loyalist forces tried to and have entered the Tigray region, and continued fighting is taking place west of Alamata, as well as, again, the Abiy loyalist forces may control the route from the Tigray-Amharian border up to Alamata and the A2 highway, but they do not control much of this high country to the northwest, west, and southwest of Alamata. We continue also to suspect that the Tigrayan Defense Forces are still active in the Zobel mountain range and could, at any time, re-threaten Kobo. So a very interesting situation developing both in the southeast in terms of conflicting reports if the Abiy loyalist forces have control of Korem. That is very doubtful now by the intel that we are receiving. It would appear that Korem is contested and the Tigrayan Defense Forces are very much active in the hills and area near Korem, making it very difficult for Abiy loyalist forces to move along the A2 highway connecting Alamata from Korem, and then obviously Korem connecting further to the west towards the Amharian border in this direction. But again, the big issue right now is what is happening in Shire. With this announcement that the Tigrayan Defense Forces are demanding that the Eritrean Army surrender in Shire, and those forces have been reportedly cut off from access to the north and west as we speak. And again, we're going to continue to watch this very, very closely. As we had talked about before, the likelihood that the Tigrayan Defense Forces would continue to harry the logistical lines of the Abiy loyalist forces and the Eritrean Army is omnipresent. Again, as these lines continue to expand, especially as they try to press from Shire east in this very rugged terrain with mountains to the north and south of the B30 highway, especially to the south of the B30 highway, in which you have the Tenbian region, where the Tigrayan Defense Forces have many, many strongholds in the south, just to the south of the B30 highway. Again, it's going to be very difficult for the Eritrean Army to maintain control of its ability to kind of push along the B30 highway. But again, we're watching the fighting that is taking place near Seleko. We are continuing to watch the fighting taking place now around Shire, which essentially is now besieged by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. So very, very interesting situation starting to develop, much like we have seen in past conflicts when the Eritrean and Abiy loyalist forces have moved deeper into the Tigray region. The difference this time is, again, they are facing a fully mobilized Tigray region, not a starting to mobilize Tigray region. So again, going to be very difficult for the Eritrean forces, the Abiy loyalist forces, to maintain control as they continue to try and take more and more territory. But that's where we set for today. We will continue to monitor, report, and bring. I'm sorry. One more issue I wanted to bring up that I had meant to discuss further in the south in Oromia. We are hearing about additional attacks, drone attacks, tactical airstrikes by the Abiy loyalist forces in western Oromia. And that is because the Oromo Liberation Army is starting a renewed uptick in operations in western Oromia against Abiy loyalist forces. So again, we know that the Abiy loyalist forces have been targeting many of these towns in western Oromia with fixed-wing assets. Again, very difficult to get information out of these regions as a lot of communications has been cut off. But it does look like the Abiy loyalist forces, its Air Force, is continuing to strike towns and smaller cities because of the continued threat of the Oromo Liberation Army. And we've heard about an uptick in fighting between Abiy loyalist federal police forces, regular units of the Abiy loyalist army, militia units fighting the Oromo Liberation Army, especially in western Oromia. But more to come on that as we continue to monitor that situation. But again, thanks for joining us today. Much more to come as we continue to monitor this conflict. And as always, have a good day.